Texas Governor Greg Abbott, the de facto president of the United States, discussing how 18-year-old Salvador Ramos walked straight in through the back door of Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, before taking the lives of 19 children and 2 teachers. Abbott also confirmed that local officers from Uvalde CISD engaged with Ramos before he eventually was taken out by a Border Patrol agent who arrived at the scene. Joining me now is CEO of Able Shepherd, retired U.S. Navy SEAL and Community Safety Fellow at the Centennial Institute, Jimmy Graham. Mr. Graham, thank you very much for your service and for being here. I'm looking forward to picking your brain on this. Isn't it time that we made our schools hard targets so if any deranged fool decides to go after our kids, they know will immediately be a death sentence for them?
Absolutely. When everybody says that their kids are a priority, I'm simply not seeing it. So we see it all the time. Checking boxes is different than providing a capability. My background with the SEAL teams and with the CIA as a protective officer overseas, you had to prove a capability, not go through this many hours of training and check some boxes. It's very easy to get to that point, and it's time for it.
Well, we hear the argument from the left primarily, but there's some folks on the right making it too, that we can't turn our schools into prisons. But gee, we protect members of Congress and nobody calls Congress a prison. We protect our money in banks. Nobody calls our banks prisons. Doesn't every school board in America need to make this happen, harden these targets?
Yeah, it breaks my heart to say this, but it truly is. You know, I spent a lot of time overseas in embassies protecting embassies. It doesn't feel like a prison. They're some of the nicest places on the planet. You learn to appreciate the walls so that you can just conduct your normal business, meaning teaching children, knowing what's on the other side of those walls. So to the kids, you know, I would say, what's the alternative? So the answer is between CPTED, crime prevention through environmental design, and target hardening. Where those two meet is the answer for future schools.
Well, let me go into some more on how this can be done in most schools around the nation in the most economical way, because I know that money isn't infinite. Following the Santa Fe shooting in Texas, proposals were put across to establish substations where police officers could have constant rotating presence on every campus. You know, they could do their paperwork, they could grab some water out of the water cooler. They'd also combat the Democrats' hatred of cops by, you know, walking down the hallway, high-fiving the kids, answering the kids' questions, and, you know, erasing the left-wing stigma they're trying to place on our police officers. This could be done without the school creating a school police force. Do you think it's a good idea?
I think that there's the one side that wants to arm teachers, and I would say if they're appropriate. Again, it comes down to show me. Any of these elite forces that do this, that have paved the way on how do you protect people. That's not law enforcement. Respectfully, law enforcement, protect and serve is not on cars anymore. Why? Because the Supreme Court said it's not the police's job to protect you. 2020 showed us you could call 911 and nobody's showing up. 911, wait, they have no one because they're out of resources. So everybody that I talk to right now is understaffed. It means what's your plan if the police don't show up? That's where you should start, by the way. We teach schools, churches, civic groups, businesses all throughout the South Denver area. That's where you start. So if the police shows up, they show up, it's extra credit. It's gravy. Turn it over to them. But what is your plan if they don't show up? That's a healthy place to start.
Well, yeah, exactly. So you already briefly mentioned this. Something that could also be beneficial at schools is for teachers to have the ability to train and, of course, be armed. Nation of Israel mandates that their teachers possess firearms on their campuses. Our system, of course, would be voluntary, but it would be another way to harden our schools as targets, yes?
Yeah, unfortunately, being a teacher has changed, and that's unfortunate. I've heard it said locally that it's not a teacher's job to protect children. I say I disagree. It's every adult's job to protect children. So to say that they can't go through that training, it's just unrealistic because I do it every day. This is what I do for a living. It means that in an emergency, everyone has a role. Everyone has a responsibility. Some might be to neutralize the threat if they can prove that capability, meaning a repeatable capability. Show me. Other people, things like run, hide, fight. We call it defend modules, DEFEND, defense, evacuate, fortify, emergency medical aid, notify others in your immediate area, and dial 911. It always, always, always comes down to people, whether that be faculty or police. It will come down to people. They must be trained.
Right. Good guys with the guns combating the bad guys with guns.